What is up? What is up? A little quiet. That candle kind of sucks. Shaking out the dust, you know what I mean? Yeah. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now. The beating of our hearts is the only sound. Look at the way we got them live, but to do it. And what will they say if they ever knew? And so we're running just as fast as we can, holding on to one another's hand, trying to get away into the night. And then we put your arms around me and we tumble to the ground, and then we say, I think we're alone now. Hello, 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 hello. It's me, it's your dog. Hope you're having a great day, wherever you are. I just got out of the hot tub after like a 3-hour sitting session in there. Whoa. It was cool. You know, I usually don't like, this is just between you and me, okay? Just between you and me. Traditionally, I haven't liked to have the bubbles on, the jets in the fucking tub. Because they're kind of loud and tumultuous, So I usually have them off. And I like the nice still water. Quiet. No jets. The wind. The trees. But today, I put the jets on and it felt good on my body. And I noticed like the real high end sounds that the bubbles make. All those little bubbles that the jets, all those little air bubbles. All those little air bubbles popping. It makes like a really nice high end sound that's almost kind of like an ocean surf or a really, really, really big crowd cheering. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? Feel me? Cool. Well, wherever you are today, I hope it's going great. I hope you're having fun. I hope you're seeing your friends. I hope you're, uh, you know, getting to do the stuff that you like to do. Spend time with the people that you like to spend time with, you know? Yeah. It's a cold, gray, quiet day here in Boulder. I don't know if you can see out the window. You probably can't really tell just from looking out there, but you can see a little sky right up in there. Because usually, one of the things that I really love about having moved to Boulder from New York about 6 years ago is the fact that the sun shines quite a bit more out here. In fact, a gray day like today is actually pretty rare. So it's like kind of cozy, and whereas back in New York, or at least the part of New York where I'm from, kind of gray regularly, pretty gray regularly. I actually didn't know the significance of the difference until I had been out here for a little while. Then it almost like the epiphany slowly came up of like, oh my gosh, wow. Oh, because you know what the epiphany really is? It's not just about, oh yeah, more sunshine. I had heard that before we moved out here. I had heard 300 days a year of sunshine in Boulder. 300 days a year of sunshine. Wow, that's great. Oh, cool. Yeah. It's one of the reasons we're going. But the epiphany is more realizing how much that affects the feel of the day. The feel. Realize, wow, like a gray day is kind of like an invitation to stay in. For me, this is how I experience it. Invitation kind of to stay in, be quiet. It just has like a little bit more of like a solemn, quiet, pristine feel. It's not as bright. It's not as alive. It's not as inviting to go out necessarily. And the epiphany was like, oh, wow, there's so much gray in upstate New York in particular, because that's where I'm from. So much gray that, wow, it really affects the feeling and the experience of a day, like so much so it was just completely kind of off my radar because that was the norm. That's what I grew up with. That's what I knew. I had heard that Rochester was gray and, rainy and much more snowy than other places, but I didn't realize until I got out here, got away from that, like, wow, having a lot of light, a lot of sunshine, it is an incredible difference. No wonder people in Rochester are mostly, I don't know what word to use, and it's not necessarily a negative thing. It could be seen as negative. It's like this, like kind of insulated. There's not a lot of flux. Rochester, as I experienced it, I haven't been back there in a bunch of years, and I love it. I love Rochester. I'm glad I grew up there. I'm glad that I actually grew up in a small town about 15 minutes outside Rochester called Scottsville, which was like a little town. The town's actually called Wheatland. There's a lot of wheat fields and farming around there, so that's one traffic light, which got put up when I was, I don't know, a kid. It didn't even have a traffic light, for a while. And then 15-minute drive or so into the big city of Rochester, which has got, I don't know, roughly 1 million people. And it's right between Syracuse, which is an hour or so east, and Buffalo, which is about an hour or so west of Rochester, right in the middle. And it's an interesting place. But kind of the point that I was saying is that people in Rochester tend to be pretty kind of insulated or insular, and I would say that the gray weather is like just a part of that whole vibe. In fact, I had a consultant that I worked with who was a very worldly gentleman, had done all kinds of stuff in Wall Street, politics, business, traveled a lot. Very worldly fellow. Seen a lot of stuff, done a lot of stuff. And anyways, we had a great working relationship as a business owner here, consultant over there. We spent a lot of time talking about a lot of stuff. And I learned a lot. And there was this one time. Kind of towards the end of our working relationship, he was like, Ryan, you're insular. In conversation. Somehow it flowed in conversation, but he's like, Ryan, you're pretty insular. And my response was, now this is back in like 2011. My response was, what's that? Which is funny. If you know what insular means, it's funny because it kind of means like you're insulated and you're small and, there's a lot that you haven't seen. There's a lot that you haven't done. There's a lot you haven't experienced, It's not necessarily a bad thing. Kind of reminds me of like the story of Siddhartha, which is like this a Buddhist story. Well, my words aren't coming real good right now. Let me pause for a second. There's the second. Siddhartha, I think, is the Buddha, and when he's young, he grows up very insular in like a really wealthy family because his family doesn't want him to be, tainted by the world. But after a while, he realizes that he's itching to get out and see things. He starts to learn about things that he was being, like death. They weren't telling him about death at all. So he finds out what that is, from what I understand. And then there's like this really big push to like, I got to go out and discover who I am and see what this world is all about and not stay stuck in insular. And that's what he did. And then he ended up sitting by a river for a lot, just listening to the sound of the river. Man, I relate to this story. That's why I keep kind of going with it, because I relate to that story a freaking lot. Having moved. I remember when he told me that I was insular, and I said, what is that? The funny part is that it's, I guess, is answering what is that to someone telling you that you're insular is a pretty good example of being insular and not even knowing what the word means. I thought maybe I kind of know, but I also was at a point in my life where I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like somebody's calling me something, if I don't know exactly what that means or I want to hear them describe what it means, I'm going to say, what is that? Oh, I'm insular, huh? Huh. I look back at that and I think like, what did he really want me to do with that information? Is that really something that you tell somebody thinking that then they're going to do something about it? I mean, maybe. Because I did. Kinda. I wasn't necessarily the driving impetus to get out to Rochester, out to Boulder from Rochester. I was married at the time. And my former spouse, she was really the driver to get out to Boulder. She was kind of like, we got to get out of Rochester, new life, new adventures, new people, new possibilities for love, truth, and happiness. And let's go now. And I was kind of like, well, that's a lot. And I would like to wait until the kids get out of school next year. But I'm open and willing to do it. And here I am. Glad to be here. Glad to have experienced Rochester. Looking forward to getting back there whenever I do. There, along with that, that insular. And I said insular is not a bad thing. It's just kind of the way Rochester is. Like, it was a Kodak and Xerox, which are two big companies from back in the, I don't know, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And digital cameras kind of came out, and film was Kodak's big thing. Rochester was most known for Kodak. It's a pretty interesting story of the guy. George Eastman, who started Kodak and invented what was it called? The snapshot camera or the quick shot camera, one of the early cameras that made it really simple. People could send in their really early cameras and get their photos produced and then sent back to them. That was like the first of a kind like that. So it like blew up, and Rochester had a really big economy booming. And I mean, there's amazing houses in Rochester. Like the one road that we used to live on, East Ave. It has some of the most amazing houses when you drive down that street. It's like, whoa. In fact, they're so amazing, so big, so like mansiony and ornate that once Kodak kind of went down and like the whole Rochester went like this, and it's like the grayness is kind of like, and it's been like that. I think a big part of that too is what we see with like red states and blue states is that New York is mostly red in terms of like the counties and all around, from what I know. And then New York City, which is almost like a whole different world, is blue. And from what I know, from what my dad used to talk about a lot, the city kind of drains the rest of the state because there's more people there. And the taxes in New York are really high. Property taxes, I mean, we bought a house 2 years before coming out to Boulder. And once we got into it, it was a pretty big price to get into it. And once we got in, I realized, oh my God, actually, the shittiest part of this whole thing is the fucking property taxes. Crazy. It's like, oh wow, like, no thank you. But it is what it is. I don't even know why I'm speaking to it. I don't really care. What the fuck, I guess I was just talking about, part of I think the grayness of Rochester and the economy being down. I've gotten out and I've gotten here and I've like, wow, that's so great. And the culture of the way people are, the way that people talk, the way that people treat each other, just the flow of energy, the way the consciousness moves within that city. Every place has got its own way, its own like kind of collective mindset and way of being, cultural norms and mores and what have you. You know what I'm saying? You with me? Yeah? Okay. It's so different out here. People are a lot more tight-knit out in Rochester. Closer together, and that's not necessarily for the best. There's much more space out here. Kind of like fits in line with like the idea that people moved out west as the country was formed, and it's more sparse out here. It's more spacious, and people like left the east to come find maybe new possibilities, new opportunities, new people and whatnot. There's a difference for sure. The way the culture, the way that people talk to each other, the way that people treat strangers. Like back out east in Rochester, it's actually super weird to talk to a stranger that's in another group, particularly if you're by yourself. Sure, different groups of people might intermingle and say some stuff. It happens all the time, no doubt. But people definitely have their walls up, particularly like one-on-one, if there's no reference points for other people. Once I started having my spiritual awakening, I spent a lot of my time sitting in coffee shops, meditating, and just kind of sitting there looking around, feeling in my body and noticing things and kind of studying life. And I'd go talk to people if I felt called to. And at that point, I had kind of developed an ability, because there was like fear moving out of my system, moving out of my life. So I had an ability to like kind of penetrate those walls that people have up and go in and connect with people and talk with them. And they'd always be like, so you just talk to random people? You just This is what you do. I'm like, I do it when I do it. Yeah, it's fun. I like to meet new people. But it was very strange to people who weren't used to that. So, and now I'm going like, why am I saying this? I don't care. Who cares? Who cares about anything that I'm saying? It's all probably a bunch of phony bullshit that I'm spouting out. I mean, really. I don't know why anyone would want to listen to anything that I'm saying. Mildly interesting, maybe, but I don't know if it's better than quiet, I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. I don't know any more of the words, but it's a song from a Disney movie, a whole new world. A new fantastic blah blah blah. Da 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 da. A whole new world. Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna close it up. But you know what? I want to show off my new jacket. I got this new jacket. I'm just like loving it. It feels so me and so good. I go out with it around town, and it's like people treat me. I'll just say the vibes are different. It's that when I go out in that jacket and I'm riding around on my one wheel, it feels like being in the future. People are just like, "Whoa, you'll see. Here we go. This is it." Check that out, huh? 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 Yeah, it's warm. It's got a nice fuzzy liner in here. Ooh, it's got inside pockets. Or does it? What the fuck is this? Well, I don't know. Oh, it's just the pocket. Oh, it does? Oh, it does have an... My hands, I don't know what this is. I know some of these cloaks fold up into a fucking... like back or backpack, but I don't think mine did. Anyways. Well, you know what? I was just thinking, like, I won't mess with that while I'm on camera, but who the fuck cares? No one watches these things anyways, you know? Well, a few people do. I think. I don't know, but it feels like Christmas here. Three hours in the hot tub, you know? It'll do that kind of thing. Just like them bubbles popping in that hot tub. Quite refreshing and relaxing, actually, yeah. And peaceful. So the moral of this video is that sometimes in the hot tub when you turn the jets on, and you open up to new ways to look at things, and particularly to listen to things, nice things can happen. Nice things can happen, yeah. All right, getting a little hot with this jacket on. Bye.